When dealing with aluminum wiring in older homes and upgrading light fixtures and switches, several reasonable solutions exist besides completely replacing the aluminum circuits with copper. Firstly, consider pigtailing. This method involves connecting a short length of copper wire, known as a pigtail, to the existing aluminum wire. This connection is made using a special crimping tool designed for this purpose. The copper pigtail then serves as the interface to connect the copper wires of the new light fixture or switch. This pigtailing method is a recognized and approved practice according to the National Electrical Code. Secondly, look into using CO/ALR connectors. These are specialized connectors engineered to safely join aluminum and copper wires. These connectors are designed to prevent corrosion and maintain a secure electrical connection between the dissimilar metals. It is essential to install these connectors precisely according to the manufacturer's instructions to ensure a reliable and safe connection. Now, addressing the issue of fixture wires without clear identification regarding their suitability for aluminum wiring, several steps can be taken. One approach is to check the fixture manufacturer's website. Many manufacturers provide detailed information on their websites concerning the compatibility of their products with aluminum wiring systems. This is often the quickest way to obtain accurate information. Another avenue is to contact the fixture supplier directly. The supplier might possess specific documentation or have acquired knowledge regarding the compatibility of the fixtures they sell with aluminum wiring. Their expertise can be invaluable in making the right decision. Another method involves using wire nuts that are specifically rated for aluminum wiring. These wire nuts are designed with a specially formulated inner lining that inhibits corrosion and ensures a secure connection between aluminum and copper wires. They are an essential component when working with aluminum wiring. Also, think about considering LED fixtures. LED lighting fixtures generally have low power requirements, which can make them more suitable for use with existing aluminum wiring circuits. However, it's vital to confirm compatibility with the fixture manufacturer to ensure safe and reliable operation. There are additional important considerations when working with aluminum wiring. It's crucial to thoroughly inspect the existing aluminum wiring. This involves carefully examining the wires for any signs of damage or corrosion. Addressing any pre-existing issues is essential before making any new connections. Also, use proper torque on all connections. Over-tightening connections can cause damage to the relatively soft aluminum wires, leading to potential problems. Using a torque screwdriver or wrench to achieve the manufacturer's recommended torque specification is crucial. If there is a lack of experience with electrical work, it is highly recommended to hire a qualified electrician to carry out the modifications. A professional electrician has the knowledge and skills to ensure the work is performed safely and in compliance with all applicable electrical codes. Aluminum wiring requires special attention and techniques due to its unique properties and potential hazards. Aluminum expands and contracts more than copper when heated and cooled. Over time, this expansion and contraction can loosen connections, leading to increased resistance, overheating, and potentially fire hazards. Aluminum also oxidizes when exposed to air, and this oxidation layer is non-conductive. This can further increase resistance at connections. CO/ALR connectors and antioxidant compounds help to mitigate these issues. When pigtailing, the copper pigtail provides a more reliable connection point for devices since most devices are designed for copper wiring. The special crimping tool creates a cold weld between the aluminum and copper wires, ensuring a secure and long-lasting connection. Wire nuts rated for aluminum wiring contain an antioxidant compound that inhibits corrosion and maintains conductivity. They also have a spring that helps to maintain pressure on the wires as they expand and contract. When selecting CO/ALR connectors, it is crucial to choose connectors that are specifically listed and labeled for use with aluminum wiring. These connectors are designed to provide a secure and reliable connection between aluminum and copper conductors, minimizing the risk of corrosion and overheating. When tightening connections, it is essential to use a torque screwdriver or wrench to ensure that the connections are tightened to the manufacturer's specified torque. Over-tightening can damage the aluminum conductors, while under-tightening can result in loose connections that are prone to overheating. When working with aluminum wiring, it is crucial to follow all applicable electrical codes and regulations. The National Electrical Code (NEC) provides specific guidelines for the installation, maintenance, and repair of aluminum wiring systems. Consulting with a qualified electrician is always recommended to ensure that the work is performed safely and in compliance with all applicable codes. Also, remember the importance of proper grounding when working with aluminum wiring. Grounding provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, helping to protect against electrical shock and prevent fires. Ensure that all ground connections are properly made and that the grounding system is adequately sized for the electrical load. Use antioxidant paste on all aluminum to aluminum connections, or where aluminum meets a dissimilar metal like copper. This paste helps to prevent oxidation and corrosion, ensuring a reliable electrical connection. Another important factor to consider is the ampacity of the aluminum wiring. Aluminum conductors have a lower ampacity than copper conductors of the same size. This means that aluminum wiring can carry less current than copper wiring before overheating. When replacing devices or adding new circuits, it is essential to ensure that the existing aluminum wiring is adequately sized for the load. It may be necessary to upsize the wiring to accommodate the increased current. When replacing receptacles and switches, use devices that are specifically rated for use with aluminum wiring. These devices are designed to provide a secure and reliable connection with aluminum conductors, minimizing the risk of overheating and failure. In addition, consider the type of insulation used on the aluminum wiring. Older aluminum wiring may have insulation that is prone to cracking and deterioration. If the insulation is damaged, it may be necessary to replace the wiring. Modern aluminum wiring typically has improved insulation that is more resistant to damage. When inspecting the aluminum wiring, look for signs of overheating, such as discoloration or melting of the insulation. Overheating can be a sign of loose connections or overloaded circuits. If any signs of overheating are present, it is essential to investigate the cause and take corrective action. Another consideration is the age of the aluminum wiring. Older aluminum wiring may be more prone to problems than newer wiring. If the wiring is very old, it may be necessary to replace it, regardless of its condition. When working with aluminum wiring, it is crucial to take precautions to prevent electrical shock. Always turn off the power to the circuit before working on any electrical components. Use insulated tools and wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as gloves and safety glasses. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, it is always best to hire a qualified electrician. Remember that electrical work can be dangerous, and it is important to take all necessary precautions to protect yourself and others. Also, avoid using abrasive cleaners or solvents on aluminum wiring, as these can damage the insulation. Use a mild soap and water solution to clean the wiring if necessary. Avoid pulling or stretching the aluminum wiring, as this can damage the conductors. Use care when handling the wiring to prevent damage. Do not paint over aluminum wiring, as this can trap heat and cause the wiring to overheat. Keep the wiring clean and free of obstructions. If you are planning to add new circuits to an existing aluminum wiring system, it is important to consult with a qualified electrician to ensure that the system is adequately sized for the increased load. Adding too many circuits to an existing system can overload the wiring and cause it to overheat. Also, when using wire connectors, be sure to select connectors that are compatible with the size and type of aluminum wiring being used. Using the wrong size or type of connector can result in a loose connection, which can lead to overheating and failure. When making connections, be sure to strip the insulation from the aluminum wiring to the correct length. Stripping too much insulation can expose the bare conductor, while stripping too little insulation can prevent the connector from making a good connection. Always follow the manufacturer's instructions when installing wire connectors. When working with aluminum wiring, it is important to be aware of the potential for galvanic corrosion. Galvanic corrosion occurs when two dissimilar metals, such as aluminum and copper, are in contact in the presence of an electrolyte, such as moisture. The electrolyte causes one of the metals to corrode. To prevent galvanic corrosion, use compatible connectors and apply an antioxidant compound to the connection. When installing light fixtures, be sure to use mounting hardware that is compatible with aluminum wiring. Using the wrong type of hardware can damage the wiring. Also, make sure that the light fixture is properly grounded. Grounding helps to protect against electrical shock and prevent fires. If you are not sure how to ground a light fixture, consult with a qualified electrician. Finally, remember that aluminum wiring requires regular maintenance. Inspect the wiring periodically for signs of damage or corrosion. Tighten any loose connections. If you find any problems, have them repaired by a qualified electrician. Regular maintenance can help to ensure the safe and reliable operation of your aluminum wiring system. When connecting aluminum wire to circuit breakers and other devices, be sure to use the correct torque settings. Over-tightening the connections can damage the wire, while under-tightening them can lead to loose connections. Consult the manufacturer's instructions for the proper torque settings. Also, avoid using aluminum wiring in areas where it is exposed to moisture or corrosive chemicals. These conditions can accelerate corrosion of the aluminum. If you must use aluminum wiring in these areas, protect it with a sealant or coating. Another important consideration is the compatibility of aluminum wiring with arc fault circuit interrupters, or SIs. SIs are designed to protect against electrical fires caused by arcing faults. Some older SIs may not be compatible with aluminum wiring, which can lead to nuisance tripping. If you are using SIs in an aluminum wiring system, be sure to use SIs that are specifically designed for use with aluminum wiring. In addition, avoid using aluminum wiring in areas where it is subject to physical damage. For example, do not run aluminum wiring through walls or ceilings where it could be punctured by nails or screws. If you must run aluminum wiring in these areas, protect it with a conduit or other protective covering. Remember that aluminum wiring is more susceptible to damage from overheating than copper wiring. Therefore, it is important to ensure that all circuits are properly sized and that there are no overloaded circuits. Overloaded circuits can cause the wiring to overheat, which can lead to a fire. Also, when working with aluminum wiring, be sure to use the correct type of wire lubricant. Some wire lubricants can damage aluminum wiring. Use a wire lubricant that is specifically designed for use with aluminum wiring. When pulling aluminum wiring through conduit, be careful not to damage the insulation. Damaged insulation can expose the bare conductor, which can create a shock hazard. Use a wire pulling grip to protect the insulation. In addition, avoid using aluminum wiring in areas where it is subject to vibration. Vibration can cause the connections to loosen, which can lead to overheating and failure. If you must use aluminum wiring in these areas, use vibration-resistant connectors. Remember that aluminum wiring expands and contracts more than copper wiring. Therefore, it is important to allow for this expansion and contraction when installing aluminum wiring. Do not tightly secure the wiring, as this can prevent it from expanding and contracting properly. Also, consider using expansion fittings to accommodate the expansion and contraction. When making connections, be sure to use a wire brush to clean the aluminum wiring before making the connection. This will remove any corrosion or oxidation that may be present. Use a wire brush that is specifically designed for use with aluminum wiring. Also, avoid using aluminum wiring in areas where it is subject to extreme temperatures. Extreme temperatures can cause the aluminum to expand and contract excessively, which can damage the wiring. If you must use aluminum wiring in these areas, protect it with insulation. Remember that aluminum wiring is more susceptible to damage from corrosion than copper wiring. Therefore, it is important to protect the wiring from moisture and corrosive chemicals. Use a sealant or coating to protect the wiring. When working with aluminum wiring, it is important to be aware of the potential for the aluminum to react with other metals. This reaction can cause corrosion and damage to the wiring. Avoid using dissimilar metals in contact with aluminum wiring. Finally, remember that aluminum wiring is a safe and reliable wiring material when it is properly installed and maintained. However, it is important to be aware of the potential hazards and to take the necessary precautions. If you are not sure how to work with aluminum wiring, consult with a qualified electrician. Some jurisdictions require that all aluminum wiring work be performed by a licensed electrician. Check your local codes to determine if this is the case in your area. In addition, it is important to keep records of all aluminum wiring work that is performed. This will help to ensure that the wiring is properly maintained and that any problems are addressed promptly. Also, be sure to label all circuits that are wired with aluminum. This will help to prevent future problems. When replacing a device that is connected to aluminum wiring, be sure to use a device that is specifically designed for use with aluminum wiring. This will help to ensure a safe and reliable connection. Finally, remember that aluminum wiring is not the same as copper wiring. It is important to understand the differences between the two types of wiring and to take the necessary precautions when working with aluminum wiring. If you are not sure how to work with aluminum wiring, consult with a qualified electrician. When tightening screws on electrical connections, use a torque screwdriver to ensure that the screws are tightened to the proper torque. Over-tightening screws can damage the wires, while under-tightening them can lead to loose connections. Also, avoid using aluminum wiring in areas where it is subject to rodents. Rodents can chew on aluminum wiring, which can damage the insulation and create a shock hazard. If you must use aluminum wiring in these areas, protect it with a conduit or other protective covering. Remember that aluminum wiring is more susceptible to damage from bending than copper wiring. Therefore, it is important to avoid bending the wiring excessively. Use care when handling the wiring to prevent damage. Also, consider using flexible conduit to protect the wiring from bending. When making connections, be sure to use a wire crimper to crimp the connectors securely to the wires. This will ensure a reliable connection. Use a wire crimper that is specifically designed for use with aluminum wiring. Also, avoid using aluminum wiring in areas where it is subject to sunlight. Sunlight can damage the insulation of aluminum wiring. If you must use aluminum wiring in these areas, protect it with a sunscreen or other protective covering. Remember that aluminum wiring is more susceptible to damage from corrosion than copper wiring. Therefore, it is important to protect the wiring from salt water. Salt water can accelerate corrosion of aluminum wiring. If you must use aluminum wiring in these areas, protect it with a sealant or coating. When working with aluminum wiring, it is important to be aware of the potential for the aluminum to react with certain chemicals. This reaction can cause corrosion and damage to the wiring. Avoid using harsh chemicals near aluminum wiring. Finally, remember that aluminum wiring is a safe and reliable wiring material when it is properly installed and maintained. However, it is important to be aware of the potential hazards and to take the necessary precautions. If you are not sure how to work with aluminum wiring, consult with a qualified electrician. If you are unsure on what to do, it is better to be safe than sorry by hiring a professional electrician to come in and do the work.